There's one issue I've discovered that has the power to bring us all together and reshape the very foundation of how we see ourselves and the world. Whether it's a planet pushed to its limit by war, greed, and extraction, or a world run by unaccountable elites wielding enormous power from the shadows, and a society hungry to thrive and find belonging and purpose in a culture that feels increasingly shallow, divisive, and lonely. What if all the major crises we face are connected? Did you know that we already have the technology to regenerate our planet, and that for decades, solutions and breakthroughs in technology and human consciousness have been suppressed and even kept hidden from the public, buried behind classified programs under the guise of national security? In this video, you'll hear terms like UFO, UAP, and non-human intelligence, topics that often get reduced to entertainment, speculation, or conspiracy. But we must understand that disclosure isn't just about UFOs. It's about who controls our future. The very corporations and unaccountable agencies profiting off of war and environmental destruction may be hoarding trillions of dollars worth of suppressed technologies and stifling breakthrough advancements in science and tech, while we struggle with problems that have long been solved in the black budget world. Some are so secret that not even our elected leaders, including most sitting presidents, have access to this information. So take a deep breath and get ready to hear from some of the most credible voices in the field and how you can join thousands of others in this global movement as we prepare the human family for the most transformative story of our lifetime.
UFOs were once really a taboo topic, but it's now a pretty serious issue. A report by Public reveals at least 30 whistleblowers working for the federal government or government contractors have given testimony or a protected disclosure to the Office of the Intelligence Community Inspector General, the Defense Department Inspector General, or to Congress over the last several months.
They, I guess, human or non-human biologics?
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to that are currently still on the program.
Non-human intelligence has been interacting with humanity. This interaction is not new, and it's been ongoing. And there are unelected people in the government that are aware of that.
Advanced technologies not made by our government or any other government are monitoring sensitive military installations around the globe. Furthermore, the U.S. is in possession of UAP technologies, as are some of our adversaries. I believe we are in the midst of a multi-decade secretive arms race, one funded by misallocated taxpayer dollars and hidden from our elected representatives and oversight bodies. Many of my former colleagues and I have provided classified testimony, and many of us have subsequently been targeted by this cabal with threats to our careers, our security clearances, and even our lives.
During a training mission in Warning Area Whiskey 72, 10 miles off the coast of Virginia Beach, two F-18 Super Hornets were split by a UAP. The object, described as a dark gray or a black cube inside of a clear sphere, came within 50 feet of the lead aircraft and was estimated to be 5 to 15 feet in diameter. Soon, these encounters became so frequent that aircrew would discuss the risk of UAP as part of their regular pre-flight briefs.
In your career, have you ever seen a propulsion system that creates no thermal exhaust?
No. I think it defies current material science and the ability to develop that much propulsion. And I know there's been some physicists have done calculations, which is beyond anything that we have.
It's a very complex subject. We're not dealing with something very simple here. We have sightings of all sorts. We've been reported thousands and thousands of sightings for 50 years or so. Large numbers of those sightings are indeed misperceiving natural phenomena in some way. But a large number of them are not misperceiving. They seem to be well-documented events that represent flying craft that do not match anything we have in an earthbound arsenal. There have been ET visitation, there have been crashed craft, there have been material and bodies recovered. There is disinformation. The question of has it been kept secret or how could it be kept secret? It hasn't been kept secret. It's been there all along, but it has been the subject of disinformation in order to deflect attention and to create confusion so that the truth doesn't come out.
In 1958 and went into the military. After going through advanced infantry training, I was transferred to the Pentagon, where I worked for the Radio Frequency Engineering Office. It was made clear to us that if we wanted to mess up our career, the thing that we could do fastest was to talk about UFOs, that we were being groomed for top secret and above, and that we certainly would not be cleared for any kind of confidential material should this be released. You saw an awful lot. You saw a lot of pictures. What would be revealed would totally destroy an economy that was designed by certain capitalists in this country a long, long time ago to maintain them and their corporations from here to eternity. I think oil has a special interest in seeing that it maintains its position where it is, regardless of what kind of pollution, regardless of what disastrous side effects may have occurred. What we're dealing with is we're dealing with certain electromagnetic devices. These sources would mean free power, and free power is something that corporations panic about, and I think this government panics about it. You know, how are you going to tax free power? Looking at it from a governmental point of view, and from everyone that I've talked to, who knows something about this subject matter, they do believe that the sources of energy that keep these vehicles in propulsion are sources of energy that are just as free can be, and they don't cause any harm to the environment. They don't cause any footprints to be left anywhere.
One of the main concerns for me that underpins this whole issue is not whether or not the government doesn't want us to know that aliens exist or not, but that there's these potential game-changing technologies that could change society. Your Citizens for Disclosure write-up, you say UFO UAP disclosure is important because greater transparency can lead to revolutionary scientific advancements that could reduce our dependence on fossil fuels and create a post-scarcity society.
That's right. It's clear that the UFOs are operating on an energy source. To go from 80,000 feet down to the surface of the ocean in 0.7 of 1 second and stop dead, you know, with 6,000 Gs of force, and then go under the water and travel at over 200 miles an hour under the water, that's estimated to generate more. Is going to require more energy to do that than that is what is produced in all of the nuclear power plants in the world in a full year. Okay, so that whatever that energy source is, if we can get access to that and make it available to people, not to have private aerospace corporations own it and they have to lease it out for highly expensive prices, you know, but sort of like when Franklin Roosevelt at the end of World War II had a rural electrification program where they provided electric power lines to go out into all the countryside so that everybody in the country would have electric energy, right? That was the model that we're looking at, to take that form of energy and get it made available for everybody in the world, that we can overcome the scarcity on our planet so that people wouldn't be fighting over limited resources. Those are realistic opportunities that we have based upon the technology that's been observed with regard to the UFOs.
The world runs on oil. We grow our food with it. We make our medicine from it. We've built our entire way of life on it, so much that it takes 10 calories of fossil fuel to produce a single calorie of food. The U.S. has toppled democracies all over the world to keep it flowing. Millions of deaths and displacements over the past century are directly or indirectly linked to securing, controlling, or profiting from oil. The oil giants of the world knew since the 50s that their products would cause catastrophic environmental harm. And as early as the 1960s, major oil giants filed and then buried dozens of patents for cleaner technologies. We are witnessing the deliberate suppression of a whole new class of breakthrough technologies, both human and non-human, that defy conventional physics and appear to run on energy sources that don't burn anything, don't emit pollution, and could fundamentally change how we power our world. How do we look past the speculation and entertainment to leverage all of these revelations in service to the transformation of our world? This question took me to Contact in the Desert, a gathering of scientists, lawyers, researchers, journalists, high-level military and intelligence insiders, and everyday truth seekers, all dedicated to getting to the bottom of the connection between non-human intelligence, ethical AI and emerging technology, consciousness, and the future of humanity. I had the honor of meeting David Schindel and Robert Salas, two former Air Force officers and aerospace engineers with top security clearance, who've dedicated their lives to exposing one of the most significant national security cover-ups in modern history. They were among more than 100 U.S. Air Force officers, all qualified to handle some of the most destructive weapons on Earth, who exposed a stunning pattern they'd witnessed and were forced to stay silent about. Unidentified flying craft repeatedly appearing over nuclear missile sites, followed by sudden and unexplained shutdowns of entire missile systems. These officers described structured, intelligently controlled objects like glowing discs and fireballs and silent triangular craft with strange markings, even orbs of light, all hovering near secure facilities. Consider what U.S. Air Force documents reveal about what happened at the Malmstrom Air Force Base in the 60s. The fact that no apparent reason for the loss of 10 missiles can be readily identified is cause for grave concern to this headquarters. Something big is obviously happening if the term non-human intelligence is now in the National Defense Authorization Act. In 2023, Congress passed 23 pages of the 64-page UAP Control Disclosure Act, enforcing all 6 branches of the military, 18 U.S. intelligence agencies, and 32 Defense Department offices to submit all records related to UFO UAP phenomena to the National Archives. The House of Representatives refused to pass the full 64 pages, and these pages would create an independent review panel to review UAP-related records. It would give that panel subpoena power, where those involved in these secret programs can no longer hide behind classification, NDAs, or corporate contracts, and would be legally required to testify. And lastly, it would protect whistleblowers from retaliation. The Invention Secrecy Act,
yes.
The U.S. government has the right to seize patents that are deemed a threat to national security or economic stability. At least 5,000 patents right now that the U.S. government has seized.
It's ridiculous to allow that type of technology that's available for the whole world. But we're going to have to come to grips with this because we have an across-the-board political consensus.
We, the people, need to rise up now and demand that the Senate and House pass the full 64-page UAP Disclosure Act. In the video description below, you'll find out how you can personally make a difference in the push for UFO UAP disclosure. What gets me time and time again is that this isn't just a story about advanced technology. It's about us. When I dug deeper into disclosure, a startling idea emerged for me. Not only are we humans capable of far more than the scientific establishment would have us believe, human consciousness itself may be the key to unlocking these breakthrough technologies that have been described by credible sources. Jake Barber was an elite airman who held NATO's top secret security clearance and worked both officially and unofficially within black budget programs tied to the U.S. government and intelligence community, which gave him first-hand access to some of the most classified operations in existence. He's one of the latest whistleblowers who have come forward to allege direct involvement in the security and transportation of human and non-human technology in top secret UAP crash retrieval programs. In an interview with former 60 Minutes Australia host Ross Coulthard, he describes a life-changing encounter with a non-human craft during a mission, an experience he's fully prepared to testify before Congress if the full 64-page UAP Disclosure Act is reinstated and enforced with real whistleblower protections.
You made the decision on the invitation of the Senate Select Committee for Intelligence to go to Congress and give evidence.
Yes, I did. Anything that lies within the inventory of the United States government, its private partners, is pretty spectacular. Things disappear for a moment and reappear. Things change color, they change shape. There's another craft that we recovered that I can talk about, and that craft was what we referred to as an 8-gon. An 8-gon is basically a disc-shaped object that, when viewed from the top, has 8 different symmetrical sections. I make my way in the helicopter from where we configure the line and we fly to where what we call the pick site. As I get closer to this pick site, I start feeling odd. I start feeling extremely emotional. The closer I get, the more the emotion starts to overwhelm me. I feel this intense hybrid of sadness and happiness and beauty and song. And it was very disruptive to me because I had a very practical responsibility at the time to operate a helicopter in the mountains at night.
Are you suddenly having a mental breakdown on the job?
No, I felt like something connected with me. I felt like something had tuned in to me and my soul and was providing me some sense of guidance. And it was so overwhelming that I began to cry. And I got the load hooked up and I began flying away. And once it was just me and that object in between the pick and the drop site, there's about 20 miles in between, I felt like something was inside of me. I felt like I was possessed by the most beautiful spirit I'd ever been possessed by. It was loving, but there was a sense of sadness at the same time. And
had you ever had an experience like this before?
No. Whatever that force was since that night, it has stayed with me. And as crazy as this sounds, it's what's guiding me now. And it's what's providing protection for me.
A technology that had the capacity to touch you remotely.
Remotely.
Telepathically.
Telepathically. I do not believe there was a being in that craft. That object, or whatever was controlling that object, was also connecting to me after being involved with other parts of the programs that are tested on the range, that there is a known and researched and implemented emotional or psychic, or what we call a psionic component to the UAP program, which deals directly with looking at this piece. Is there a component of these non-human craft that has to do with consciousness, or at least a field of consciousness that perhaps humans can tap into, and maybe all beings in the universe can tap into? The ability to go into something like a meditative state and summon UAP and pilot UAP. That is real. That's 100% real.
And did you see that happen?
Yes, I did. It answered certain questions and intuitions that we have going back to your childhood, and if anything, that were most present in your childhood. As a child, you have this particular feeling, and it kind of dies out. I don't think there is going to be an ontological shock. I think people are going to react to it the same way I did. I think it's going to be an ontological relief, because I think everyone deep down knows that there is more to life than what we are being told and experiencing. When we look at the contaminants that exist in our food, contaminants that exist in our drugs, and contaminants in our culture. And some of these contaminants aren't great for your spirituality or your consciousness or your psionic abilities. Our organization is called Skywatcher. We are part of what has been defined as the Explorers Club. We need to know that we're not alone. We need to know that there's a profound spiritual component to our existence, but also there's an extreme amount of utility in our ability that has been suppressed forever.
Our government has a long and successful history of employing psychics to locate targets, gather intelligence, solve crimes, and test the boundaries of what's possible by tapping into non-local consciousness. It's been estimated that U.S. government use of psychics and ESPs resulted in 26,000 telepathic campaigns carried out by 227 psychics before 1995. At the conference, I sat down with Hakeem Isler, a former Army PSYOP sergeant, author, 5th degree black belt, and founder of the Psy Games, a unique platform merging science, community, and experiential learning to explore the untapped potential of human consciousness. Hakeem advocated for grounding all consciousness exploration in responsibility and ethics, so not to dominate, deceive, or manipulate, but to awaken our potential.
Having the full discussion, not just half. If you're talking about UAPs, then you need to talk about how are they communicating and connecting with people, or why are they showing up for people when people reach out and things of that nature. Psychokinesis is your ability to connect with and influence people or things or matter or energy, biofields. So if I'm using a healing on you and I'm able to heal you in certain ways, that's a form of psychokinesis. If I'm able to move a piece of matter, that's a form of psychokinesis. They call that specifically telekinesis, which is a subset of psychokinesis. Wow. So then now I'm using this consciousness to now communicate and maybe control or move this object. It's a form of psychokinesis. What would the world look like if any and everybody could tap into their remote viewing potential and see anything, anytime, anywhere, and you couldn't control it? Oh, if I was a government, I'd be like, that could be a problem. So maybe when I say that it didn't work, that's why we shut it down, you know? When in reality, it did work, and it worked well. So sometimes you'll find those debates happening where people will say, I thought about trying it, but then I heard that, you know, the government shut it down because there was no evidence for it in real life. When in reality, we know that it was just the opposite. Right. But this might be some wordplay to help us stay away from our own ability, away from our own power.
This post-scarcity, I saw that and I was like, ooh, that was such an interesting term. And we really are living in this illusion of scarcity when it comes to how our whole money system is built. And even just like the climate change narratives that are so doom and gloom, when even like without ET technology, I mean, there's so many solutions we could be doing right now.
That's right. And we can utilize this situation right now to organize our people, mobilize our people, raise the consciousness of our people, and start ushering in an entire new era for our human family on our planet.
Keeping it secret is a bad way to try and study something. We need an open source. We need all hands on deck, all brains on deck, all consciousness on deck. Until we do so, we're going to be stuck with the same problem we have been for all the civilization, and that's battling for limited resources. And if we could solve that problem by something that might come out of disclosure, that would be something I say should be disclosed.
There is some kind of capacity to draw incredible amounts of energy from
I've seen it.
The quantum vacuum.
I've seen it.
You've seen it?
I've seen it.
There was a recent UK poll that found that 89% of youth feel that their life is meaningless. And so how do we reignite our sense of curiosity and wonder about who we are? This topic can really enhance the wonder and meaning for youth.
This will light people up.
Yes, it will.
Light people up. Absolutely.
Apollo 14 astronaut Edgar Mitchell was the sixth man to walk on the moon. After having a profound awakening experience seeing Earth from space, Mitchell dedicated the rest of his life to exploring the nature of consciousness and humanity's deeper connection to the cosmos.
That in space, without the intervening atmosphere, the heavens are 10 times as bright, stars 10 times as numerous. And this experience was overwhelming in that suddenly I realized that the molecules of my body and the molecules in the body of the spacecraft and my partners were manufactured in an ancient generation of stars. And instead of intellectual knowledge, it was a visceral experience, a visceral knowing, accompanied by an ecstasy. After I came back, I was so profoundly amazed by this experience that they found in the Sanskrit called samadhi, or salvakapa samadhi. In particular, that means you see things in their separateness, but experience them viscerally and emotionally as a unity, a oneness, and accompanied with an ecstasy of where you're catapulted out of one state of being into this state of ecstasy and bliss where you realize everything is totally interconnected. And that was the essence of that experience.
We no longer can follow the patterns of the generations before, who believed because we were few in number, and the earth was so large that its resources would last forever, who believed, and we still believe, that conquest creates conformity and threat produces peace. We function like 12-cylinder engines, operating on only one cylinder because we do not know what we are. We are limited only by what we believe about ourselves. When we change our belief, we will see ourselves differently. We often say, seeing is believing, when precisely the opposite is true. Believing is seeing. To become the creative, intelligent, loving creatures of the universe, that is our true reality.
This is our moment to make history, not sit back and scroll in cynicism and apathy. And as I always love to say with these videos, we can't shift the chaos we're in until we name it clearly. When we can recognize what's really pushing us in our personal lives and as a society, we already have a degree of freedom from it. It is the courage of the people and the love for the common good that bring these injustices to light, fueling open dialogue and constructive action. I'm Amber Yang for wanttoknow.info, and thank you so much for tuning into this. If this video resonates with you, join us in being part of this global team of loving, courageous people dedicated to transformation on this planet.